Good day, everyone. Let's start our lesson by finding out the next shape. Now let's take a look at the picture pattern. What's the next shape? So we have here a rectangle, a hexagon, circle, heart, then rectangle. And what is the missing? So the missing is hexagon. Now how do we know that the missing is a hexagon? This because, looking at the shape patterns, we will know the next picture in the sequence. We always use sequence in everyday life, but sometimes we don't realize it, such as our daily routines. It can be morning, school, evening, or bedtime routines, and it is very important that you need to follow the sequence. Let me give you a specific example. Now, before you go to bed, you need to eat first, then wash up, brush your teeth, put on your clothes, and then pray. Now, in math, pattern is a set which consists of objects or numbers such that the objects or numbers are related to one another by a certain rule. And the number patterns called sequence are generated by applying the operations to each number in the pattern. And each number in the pattern is called term. Now we have here, for example, a sequence. So we have here 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on. So these 2, 4, 6, and 8 are called terms. We have here definite rules in a number pattern. First, we have arithmetic sequence. It is a number pattern made by adding or subtracting the same value. Let's just for example. We have 1, 4, 7, 10. So from 1, how did it become 4? And then from 4, how did it become 7? And then 10. So it's like adding 3. So we have 1 plus 3 is 4, 4 plus 3 is 7, 7 plus 3 is 10, and so on. We also have here subtracting by 2. We have 10 minus 2, it's 8, 8 minus 2 is 6, and 6 minus 2 is 4, and so on. We also have here geometric sequence, which is a number pattern made by multiplying or dividing the same value, each number, by a common ratio. So we have here 2, 6, 8, 54. By just multiplying to 3, we will get the next term. So 2 times 3 is 6, 6 times 3 is 18, 18 times 3 is 54. Same as with when we divide it with 2, we have here the sequence 50 divided by 2 is 25, 25 divided by 2 is 12.5, then 12.5 divided by 2 is 6.5, and so on. We also have here another number pattern. We call it as Fibonacci sequence, wherein a number pattern which the next term is found by getting the sum of the previous two numbers. So we have here, we have 1, and then you add to the previous term, which there's no other number, so you write 1 here. Then you add 1 plus 1 is 2. Then you add the previous two numbers. 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, 3 plus 5 is 8, and so on. So you will get the next term by adding the two previous numbers. Finding the missing term in the sequence starts with observing how the terms behave with respect to one another. That is by looking if there is a common difference or ratio between the successive terms. Let's have an example. So we have find the next term in the pattern. We have 4, 9, 14, 19, 24. So what is the missing term? So what operation are we going to perform to get the next number? So from 4, the next term is 9. So we need to add 5. Okay, so 4 plus 5 is 9. But we are not sure yet if that is the rule in this sequence. We need to confirm by checking on the next term. So we have the 9, it becomes 14. So we add 5. Okay? So 9 plus 5, it becomes 14. And let's confirm again with the next term. So we have 14. Then it becomes 19. So we have to add 5. Then the 19 to 24, another add 5. So still adding 5. Then we can conclude that the pattern or the rule is adding 5. So we have here 24 plus 5 is 29. Next, you have here 10, 7, 4, 1, and what's the missing term? The next term after 10 is 7, so we can say that we need to subtract to 3. We need to confirm it by checking on the next term. So the 7 becomes 4 by subtracting it to 3. Okay, and 4 minus 3, it's also equal to 1. Therefore, our rule here, okay, so our rule is by subtracting by 3, and this one is, the rule is adding 5. So we have 1 minus 3, we have negative 2. Next, we have find the next 3 terms in the pattern. So we have 4, 9, 5, 10, 6, 11, and 7. So the 4 becomes 9 by adding 5. But let's confirm it with the next term. From 9, it becomes 5. So it's like subtracting to 4. And let's see, from 5 it becomes 10. It's adding 5 again. Then from 10 to 6, we need to subtract to 4. Okay. So we have, and 6 becomes 11, adding 5, and 11 becomes 7 by subtracting to 4. So we know that the pattern here is add 5 or subtract to 4. So if this is 7, after we subtract to 4, we can add to 5, then the answer is 12. Then you subtract it to 4, because that's the rule. So we have here 8, then add to 5, we have here 13. So the rule here is add 5, and for the next term, subtract by 4, and so on. So you repeat the process by adding 5, and for the next term you subtract it by 4. You can also say that we are adding 1 alternately. So we have here 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and here in the even number of terms we have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You can also say that. Next, we have 10, 13, 17, and 22. So from 10 comes 13 by adding 3, and 13 becomes 17 by adding 4. And the 17 becomes 22 by adding 5. And in this given pattern, it is changing in a predictable manner. So if we are adding 5, next we need to add to 6. So you have 22 plus 6 is 28. Then we need to add to 7. That is 35. Then we need to add to 8. That is 43. And that's our answer. Next, find the 8th term in the pattern. We have 2, 4, 8, 16. So we have 2 possible rules here. We can have multiply by 2. Okay, going to confirm that 4 becomes 8 by multiplying to 2, and 8 times 16 times 2 is also equal to 16. We can also say that to get 2 to 4, we add 2. Then from 4 to 8, we add 4. And from 8 to 16, we add 8. Now, take note that we need to find a similarity between the relationship of 2 numbers. So it's easier to say that the rule is multiply by 2. And it's an example of geometric sequence. And remember that each number is called a term. So we have here first term, second term, third term, and fourth term, and so on. Now the instruction asks you to get the eighth term. Since you know the pattern, you just need to fill in the next terms until you find the eighth term. So we need to find the fifth, sixth, seventh, and our final answer is the eighth term because that's what is asked in the problem or in the question. So we have 16 times 2 is 32, and 32 times 2 is 64, and 64 times 2 is 128, and 128 times 2 will get 256. So our answer for finding the eighth term in the pattern is 256. Next, we have 2, 2, 4, 6, and 10. So if you're going to analyze, it's an example of Fibonacci sequence. So we have here 2, that's our first number. Then to get the next term, we need to add the 2 previous number. This is only 1, so we write 2. Then to find for the next term, we add 2 plus 2, we get 4. And then for the next term, 4 plus 2 is 6. And then 6 plus 4 is 10. So finding for the eighth term, we need to find for the 6th, 7th, and then the 8th, which is our final answer. So the 6th term is 16 because we add 10 plus 6. Then the next term would be adding 16 and 10. At 10, we have 26. And our 8th term, we have 42. So our answer here is 42. And the rule here is the Fibonacci sequence by adding the 2 previous numbers. Okay, so that's it. When we understand the pattern, we can figure out the succeeding numbers in the sequence. And I hope that you learned something from the lesson.